Hi, this is Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and this is a video I've been promising you for a very long time. I just posted a video on some vintage sequins and also some vintage tree skirts, and this particular sequin ornament is one that inspired me to do this one that I'm going to show you in the tutorial. Now, they did this one where they actually used red, and it looks like maybe green and clear for each different color. This one, same thing. This one they put the clear over everything, and if you can see the difference, and I think I showed this on my pumpkin tutorial too, the clear gives it a completely different look that can look really pretty, but I prefer to match the sequin and the seed bead. That just to me comes out better, and I think it gives it a more uniform look. Now, these don't have a top on them like mine do. This is actually a cookie cutter that my grandfather made out of a tin can, and I use this to stamp out my felt and to make the ornament. Now, I have made these in several colors. This is similar to the other one, pretty much the same thing, except I lined this one in green and this one in red. This one's finished. The one I just showed you is not quite finished. Then I did one in a blue and white and silver and used blue on the back. This one I put a green on the back, and the red I put a red on the back. I kind of matched the back to the edging. Now this I didn't because I used a blue instead of a white. I love pink and gold. This is a hologram, I believe. No, this one isn't. The tree I did a hologram. This one's actually a gold, bright gold, and a clear pink over a pink felt. This is just the same pink felt you can get at Hobby Lobby, but I used a iridescent clear sequin on that, and I did use clear beads, and on this I used a vintage gold bead. And then my husband requested a metallic, so I did silver and gold on this one. But, you know, again, there's no limit to what, and of course the backs are all different on each one. I believe this one's a red, and then the one I'm going to show you today is a red. And there's no end to the amount of colors you can do. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to start this piece. Now, I like to start on the top because I feel that if you get this top done properly and get these sequins lined up good, it'll help you get this curve going down here. The first one I did, I put an extra row of red, and as you can see, it gives it an odd look. It doesn't look right. The minute I changed it and put extra silver and only 2 red, it totally changed the ornament, made it look rounder, and I think made it look a lot better. So this is the one. You can see it doesn't look as round. It just has an odd look. It made it kind of look oval. See? And this one looks rounder. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a beading thread. Now, I can't explain to you enough how it has to be beading thread. Beading thread is a very heavy thread. You get it in these little spools like this or like this, or you can get it in bigger spools. This is an old one I have here, and it's size D, white Nemo, and I've got actually big spools of this too. I've got one that's 25 years old and a newer one that I bought thinking I was going to need it, but I'm still using the original. But white is what I'm using on all the steps today. You can use color if you want. You could actually match each color to the thread. I have done that on ornaments before, but I'm going to tell you, it's tedious, and I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. But if you want to do a gift or make it for yourself and you want it very detailed, you could do white with the white, green and with the green, and red with the red. However, I do urge you to use the right colored seed bead. Use a pearl or a white on the white. Use a red on the red. And see, this was sewn with white thread, and you can't really tell. Sure, would it look a little better with the right color, but it's not going to affect it when it's hanging on a tree. So make sure it's beading thread, not sewing thread. Sewing thread is not heavy enough. You pull on this, it's not going to break. This stuff's made to bead with. It's very heavy duty. And mostly I buy the D. I might have some others, but I mostly buy the D. Yeah, these are all D. These are my greens and reds. So I'm going to do a silver on here. And just a nice plain silver sequin. And I have my tray made up. Now this is a Chinette plate that's probably 25 years old, and it's soft as it feels like suede. This is a newer one here. This is my old one. See the color? And it's soft. You have to have another plate under it. But what I like about it is this gets a nice texture to it, so when you want to pick up beads, it catches. There's something about Chinette plates, and I do use trays now, but in the past years, I always use Chinette trays or plates, and I'm trying to get back to it. And they do have the platter size too, if you want a bigger one. But I swear by Chinette plates, and this is how they look when they're really old. They feel just so soft, and they have such a nice texture that helps you to pick up your beads and sequins with the beading needles. Now we're going to do the silver first, and I've got a silver lined bead here. And this is just a clear silver lined, which looks really pretty. And this is in a vintage tube, but I believe these were brand new. And they're just a real pretty, I don't know if that's showing up on the camera good, just a real pretty, clear, sparkly, silver lined. And I will tell you, because they are silver lined, when they get old, they will get an aged look to them. But I personally like that. You can use a plain clear as well on the silver. I don't use a silver bead because most of the silver seed beads are painted and it wears off over time. So I like to use glass that is not painted, that is lined with silver, or just pure glass. And these work beautifully with the silver. And that's what I also used up here on the string as well. This is a silver lined, same bead that's in that tube. So what you're going to do is knot it real good and come up through the back. So you're going to come up through the back of the ornament so that you're on the top of the ornament here. Then you're going to pick up a sequin, and you can pick it up in your fingers or pick it up off the plate upside down, so that when you put it on the needle, the cup is facing up when it gets down on the ornament. So you want the cup down, up. You want the cup facing up when you get it on there. So it's going to be facing down when you pick it up, and then you're going to pick up a bead, and this bead is going to hold that sequin on. Now you take that and you move it to the far corner. I kind of came in a little bit low. Move it to the far corner, and you're going to go down only through the sequin. I don't know if you can see that. I did not go back through the bead, because that little bead is going to hold, see, when I pull it, that little bead holds that sequin in place. And you're going to do 4 across, because I did 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to do 4 across on this top here. And I push them as I add each sequin. I take my finger and the needle and push it up against the thread of the one before it, so it's nice and tight. And you're going to keep doing that. I'll do the first row and then show you the start of the second row. And you can pick them up in your hand if it makes it easier. Face down when you pick it up. Pick up a bead. Then when you pull it down, do not go back through it till you see that it's facing up. You want that reflective cup up. Now, if you prefer the reflective cup down, that's your business, but some people do. I see a lot of handmade ornaments where they put these upside down, and they're just as pretty, but I happen to think they're more sparkly, and for my personal taste, I like them to face up. I think these vintage ornaments are all, see, they're all cupped up. All the beads are up. And see what I mean about the vintage silver? It turns kind of black inside. Can you see that? These were all clear silver lined, but I kind of think it's neat. These are silver sequins, and this is how they age. And they'll get almost a clear look to them over years of time. And storing them doesn't really seem to make a difference. It's just age. It's just age. They just get that discoloration on them. So these will eventually do that too. I'm sure these were just as pretty when they were new. So all you can do is, you know, do your best and just appreciate them as they age. They're going to get that real beautiful vintage look. So you're going to put 4 across the top here. Pull them tight. There we go. And then we're going to pick up this last one. Whoop, I just flipped one. Pick up the last one for this row. Then I'll show you how to do the next row. And this is what you're going to do for the whole piece. And it just takes a second. You get it in place. Pull it close to the one next to it. Make sure you're not going through the seed bead. And there's your first row. See? And you're going to do the same thing on the second row. You're going to come in here and you're going to do the same thing. But you're going to do top and bottom. So you're going to pick up your sequin and it's hard to do this behind a camera, I'm telling you. Okay. So not only are you going to push it next to as you go, this first one you're going to push up and then down, go down through. And then for the rest of them, you're not only going to push up, but you're going to push next to. So you're going to put 4 more, and then you're going to do another row here. And then your last row, if you notice what I did on the very last row, I'll do this one, it's easier to see it, goes down slightly into the ornament. If you notice that it goes a little bit past that, and that's what you want, because when you get that going down, then when you start the red up here, just slightly up close to, so see it's next to the last row of the silver, and then you come down and then put the last one on the other side of the silver. That gets your arch going, and as you see, that's what gets you looking round. So just make sure you do 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and then the first red goes next to the silver, then you go under the silver and next to the silver, and that immediately gets you going into a round, and that's what gives you your effect, your round effect, which in the finished ornament will look something, well, this is not the finished one, here's the finished one. We'll give you that round. Now this one's not as round. See, that was one of my first ones. And, that was the very first one. See, this one is, these were the first 2 I did. This one, I didn't have the hang of it yet. So this is when I should have put another silver. This is when I got that, but it still isn't quite as round as it could be. But it's still good. I still figured out how to round it, and then you can see as I got good at it, it got rounder and rounder. So just be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Practice does make perfect. And again, perfect isn't what you strive for anyway. So just do what I suggested, and I think you'll be really happy. First red is pretty close to the silver there, and pretty close to the silver at the end, and go underneath, and that'll get your round stripes going. And then at the end, when you get to the bottom, you just tie a knot. This is what it'll look like on the back when you're done. See, just those simple lines going back and forth. If you run out of thread, you tie a knot, add another piece of thread, and keep going. Now I'm going to show you how to sew them together. I did this one in green. I did this edge in white. And I did this one in red. And so what I do is pick the color you want. Now I'm going to do a red edge on this one just because I happen to have a bunch of red seed beads out already. Now for that, I tend to usually use the right color. But if you don't have red thread or green or whatever you're going to use, don't worry about it. It really, I believe this one I did that one with the green. It's really not going to look that bad if you use white thread with a color. I prefer to use the right color if I have it, but if you don't, it's really okay. So since I'm going to use red, I'll grab some red thread here. Well, I'll use this open one here. And I'm going to get the end of it. And I'm not going to cut a full piece. Normally I cut a pretty long piece. And then again, I'm going to tie a knot. And I tend to tie fairly large knots, which I forgot to show you in the first step. But I tend to tie pretty large knots. Simply because felt is very porous. And I don't want it coming through the felt. And the other thing I forgot to show you that I'll show you here real quick. When you start, one thing I forgot to do on here that I normally do is when I start the piece, I go up once, I go back down, then I come back up and start loading the sequins on, and I forgot to do that on this one. So that way it kind of, if you tie the knot and come up through the felt, then go right down next to that hole, then come right back up next to it, it kind of secures it a little bit better. Now I don't do that, well, I actually do that as I add thread to this. Now obviously it's not as easy to do that when you're sewing them together, so you just have to find a way to secure it well. And what I do is I make a loop, and let me show you. Kind of the same thing as what I do on the flat part, but it's just done a little bit differently. Let me thread this needle for you, which I normally have done before I start, so I apologize. Seems like the older I get, the harder these little needles are to thread. Okay, so now what I do is I like to go pick wherever you want to start. I usually start in the middle because I often stuff it when it's half full. So what I do is I pick a point and I just go up through like this. Get that knot down inside. You can leave the tail and just tuck it in. Make sure it's all matched up good and you like how it looks. Then you're going to go into the back and you're going to push through between the sequins and make a loop right like that. Can you see the loop, how I made the loop go around both pieces of fabric? I don't know, let me look through the camera, see if you can see that. I made a perfect loop. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my seed beads and I'm going to put, let me get my glasses back on, I'm going to put 3 seed beads to start. Okay, so you're going to take 3 and go right next to where you made that hole. And you're going to come up and you're going to make a little triangle. Then you're going to go back through the very last one. And it makes a little triangle like that. See? Then from there on out you add 2 beads and you go real close and you push up next to that sequin. And it keeps making that little triangle all the way around your piece. Here we go. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around. 2, 2, 2. And when you get to the silver, you can change over to silver. It's very easy to do. Basically, where the cutoff is, you switch over. So like if you're here and you can add your 2, I might do a red and then a silver. Now before you can do that and push the needle through, if you don't like it, before you go back up through the bead, you can pull the needle off, pull the thread out, and redo it. But a lot of times I'll do a red then a silver. Now if I end it in the right place, I might just put 2 silver. It really just depends on how you want it to look. Then you do silver all the way around, and then you can go back to your red. But you can also do red all the way around. But if you notice, I tend to do the silver top. And you can, I'll show you where I've switched it over on the back there. You can see how I do that. Really easy. But if you don't want to do that, just do silver all the way around or do red all the way around. So then once you get, you might be wondering, how do I end it? So that's what I'm going to show you next, is when you get to that point where you've done all this. Now here's one that I did sew it together with white. So here's a red like the one I'm doing, and I'm almost done. If you can see there, there's just room to close it up. And at this point, I only need one seed bead at the end. Because if you look, I'm butting up against the very first bead. So I'm going to take one seed bead and I'm going to go back through that very first bead and go back into the back. That's another reason why I often will match these, because then you don't see the thread when you're tying it off. And then I'll go around 2 or 3 times in one direction. And I'll go 2 or 3 times the other direction. It can be big, small, whatever you want to do. You know, I'm not particular about it. I might make a couple different knots in different directions. You can keep it really close to the edge. When you're done, you just snip it off. Now, usually I do it really close to there. I might get that knot really close, but in trying to show you on the video, it's a little harder. But I usually try to get it right up against the edge there. But it's a little harder to do that. So if you have to go in a little bit, this is the back, it really doesn't matter. Now, if you want to stuff it, if you want a little bit of stuffing in it like I have here, then what you can do when you're about half full like this, you can open it up, and I like to use this stuff. This is the cotton that comes in medicine and vitamin bottles. Really fluffy and light. Now you can use cotton balls out of your bathroom as well. Some people cut batting and do that. But I like to do that, and I just wait till I'm about half done. And I just have always used my scissors. It probably isn't a smart idea, but I always have. And I just put a little bit of fluff in there. And I just move it around with the scissors. You can push a little bit up in there and just get it to where you like it. Just slightly fluffed for me. You might want it really fat. And then you just keep doing your edging until you get to the bottom, and then you finish it like I showed there. Now to do your loop, same thing. You're just I'm gonna take the red thread and show you how to do your loop. Let me see. I think I have. Well, this one's white. I think I have some white beads, and I'll show you with the white beads, the loop. And that's real easy. You take your white thread, or whatever thread you're using, and I'm just going to cut this off the one I was showing you. And you're going to tie a knot, again, like I showed you before. The difference with this one is I will be cutting the tail off of this one. I just make a really big knot. I do not like to take a chance on it coming out. Although this is less likely to, because I'll show you what I do. Alright, so you have the needle on your thread. And these are size 10 beading needles that I'm using. I got these through Amazon. Size 10, they're nice and big, but they fit through most seed beads. Occasionally one will be too small to go over the back, but they're pretty good, and they're the bigger hole to see. So what you're going to do, now this one isn't done, but I can still show you on here. Where's the one that was almost done? I had the one that was almost done. I don't know what I did with it. But anyway, you're going to come in through the front, right here. And I guess this is silver, not white. And you're going to come in under the sequins, the front sequins here. And you're going to look for the hole. Now, it's going to take a little time. You're going to have to get real close in here. And you're going to look for, you're going to go up through that hole. See how I have it up? Now, you got to make sure it's the hole you want. Now, that one's a little farther out. I'm going to go in one more. And you just do it till you get into the hole. Like that. And then you're going to pull it up. And that knot's going to go up underneath the sequins. Now, this I do cut really short, because I don't want the tail hanging out. And it just tucks on behind the sequins. See how that's tucked up under there? And then you're just going to string on your beads. However long you want the loop to be. Now, since this is silver, I'll go ahead and do silver. I think I usually do silver to match the top. But you can do whatever you like. And you're just going to put the seed beads on the advantage to these long needles is you can put a lot of seed beads at once. And you just do that until you get, well, let me show you. I usually do little over 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and then I turn and go. So the whole thing would be probably 5 inches long, right about 5 inches long, and then you do the opposite. You go to the back, you find the bead on the other side, like that would be this one, right here, and then you'd go back through from the back, pull it up through there, and then do the round, 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 round the other way, maybe loop it through, you could tie it in a knot, round, 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 and then cut it off. If you want to put a dot of glue, you can. I've actually never had one come undone. But these look more complicated because of the stripes, but I'm here to tell you they're very, very easy to do. Now this one I got a little fancy. I don't know if you can see it. I put little tiny flowers on top of the sequins. I did a flat white and then a little flower white and then a white sequin, or a white seed bead. And then this is a little bit fancier vintage sequin that I found on eBay. I don't really like it. This was one of my first ones, and I wasn't getting it quite right on top yet. But they're real easy and so much fun. And good Lord, you could do any color you want. If you like orange and green, do orange and green. I wanted to do more colors, but I just didn't get a chance to do any more. But you could do these in whatever your favorite color is. I did in the more popular. I know a lot of people like blue and white, and I wanted to do a red and white, but I never got it done. But my husband wanted me to do one like this one, where it had the single white, and I never got that one done. So I'll probably do that for him for Christmas with a single white stripe. So it's a fun ornament to do. It looks much more labor intensive than it is. You can see from the back it's pretty straightforward. Where's that? Trying to find the back of the one I was showing you. I can't find it now. But just, you can see from the back it's just very straightforward. It's just going back and forth. But the main thing to remember is now here I actually made the silver round, and you can do that on your fourth one, but I have found it's just a lot easier to bring the red up next to it and do it that way. But there's no right or wrong. You just want to get that kind of curve going, however you want to do it. If you want to do it with the silver, I have done that with the silver before. I think I've found, though, it's easier to do it with the red. Oh, here's the one I showed you, where you go up next to it, right next to the silver, as if that is part of the silver row, see? Then go underneath the silver, and then the last one at the end, and then that perfectly, that's the most last one I did, and it took me that long to figure that out. So you never stop learning. The other ones came out fine, but this was so much easier. And this, as you can see, white with white, red with red, green with green, and silver with silver. I do think the seed beads make a difference. Thread, not so much, because I did use white thread on this one too, and you can't tell. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this came out okay, because I was not able to stare through the camera to do this. I kind of had to figure out where to hold everything. So I hope this is a clear video and that you could see it well. And if you have any questions, just put them down below and I'll try to address them. But I thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you got to see the vintage ornament video I posted before this. It had not only these, but some other vintage videos, not vintage videos, other vintage ornaments and tree skirts that I had that gave me the inspiration for this, and several other ornaments. And these are some of the ones I showed in that video here that I'll be doing another video on soon. And different techniques. This one I did seed beads on top. These are stars. I did kind of a patriotic look here. And then this is in blues and whites and golds. But this will be another video I'm doing soon. And as I promised a subscriber, I will be doing a gingerbread. I'm just trying to figure it out still, because I want it to come out right, and I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want to do it. But thanks again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back very soon. I've got a long list of stuff I want to get done this weekend so I can schedule you out some consistent videos. And I am going to remake the Coca-Cola lid. Coca-Cola, I did the Coca-Cola version of this Pepsi, and I was out of frame a lot of it. So I will be redoing this weekend. I also tried a couple different backs too that I'll be showing you. So I will be redoing this video also in the next week, hopefully this weekend, and I can show you more clear instructions. So I've got those and a lot more projects ahead for you, and I thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.